Montessori Grandma. Episode 12. The Story of Degrees.
The Story of Degrees, another Montessori short story related to geometry. Retold and presented by Geeta Vijayachandran. This is the story of degrees. Many years ago, there lived an ancient people called the Babylonians. I want to take you to their wonderful city that is very far from here. It's a long way that we have to go in distance, but we also have to go back about 2,500 years in time to get back to this beautiful city. On the Euphrates River lay a city called Babylon. 2,500 years ago, the city was at its great peak. It's called Babylon from Babel, which meant the gate, because it had a great and wonderful gate. This is the famed Ishtar Gate that gave Babylon its name. Babylon means the city of the gate. This gate was covered with beautiful glazed tiles that from a distance the outside of the city gleamed in the sun. People could see it from miles away as the sun reflected off the glazed tiles. Babylon was known for one of the most wonderful things of the ancient world. It was called the Hanging Gardens. Babylon was famous for gardens that hung on its walls and hung down from all over. In this great city of Babylon, there was a class of people that were priests. The priests were exclusively men. Only men of the wealthier classes were allowed to be priests. They were the only ones who were allowed to learn to read or write. So, not many people in Babylon could write and not many people could read. But those few that did could achieve great things. The priests held sessions of worship and astronomy high in a building which was called a ziggurat. It looks like a pyramid or a temple. A ziggurat has a stairway that leads up to it. On the very top, there's a building, a house, or a small hut where the priests went at night to observe the stars. From there, they could watch the stars. The special priests who studied the heavens were called temple astronomers. They went to the very peak and looked through the top of that building to observe the stars. They were the great scientists of their age. They were great astronomers. They studied the stars. These ziggurats stood high above the city. In ancient times, when it became dark at night, the city was dark as there were no street lights. So they could go high up above the city, above anybody's oil lamps, and they could see the stars in all their splendor. They looked up at the stars. They noticed over the course of years that the stars seemed to move around in the sky every night. But over the course of time, they seemed to follow a pattern. It was as if the stars circled the earth, as if the earth stood still. Now we know that's not what happened. To the temple astronomers, it was as if the earth stood still and the stars seemed to go around in a great circle around a single star that's relatively unmoving at the very center. This polar star was at the center of their observation. These priests decided to keep a record of what happened with the movement of the stars on clay. That meant that they had to keep a damp cloth on the clay for an entire year so that they could continue to mark it. They marked the clay with a wedge-shaped tool. This kind of writing is called cuneiform, which goes back to a word that means a wedge. And that's what they used to make their marks in the clay. By writing down their observations, they found out that over the course of a year, the stars appeared to move in a great circle all around. They seemed to move about the same distance every day. The Babylonians had a number system that was based on 60. These were special sacred numbers to the Babylonians: 6, 60, and 360, because that's 60 taken 6 times. As it was the movement of the stars, it seemed quite logical that it would take exactly 360 days for the stars to make their travel around the earth, which is what they thought was happening. Now, we know that it was close, and the stars took a few more days than 360. Because that did quite fit with their sacred number, they defined a year as 360 days, and they gave 5 extra days for celebration and religious holidays. They didn't count those 5 days as part of the year. The passage that they marked on their chart each day was one of the 360 markings that they had for the day, one 360th as it went round and round. Do you know what gift the Babylonians gave us by doing that? They gave us a way that we still use today to measure angles. We measure angles by the method that the Babylonians used to measure the stars. The gift of the Babylonian priests who looked up through the hole at the top of the ziggurat is the way we measure our angles. Today we have something that we call a protractor, which is a measuring tool for angles. Imagine the center is a spot where the priest sat. Imagine that you are a priest and you can look right up and see through the protractor and see a whole circle of movement above you. That measurement of the circle, as it goes round and round, has numbers that could represent days. But instead of days, we call each mark a degree. It actually goes back in etymology to mean a step. When we write, we make a little circle after the number. The circle reminds us of the path that the Babylonians saw in the stars. That little circle is a reminder of the gift from the past that we have received from the Babylonians, the gift of the degree. And when we say degrees, I hope we'll remember the Babylonians and their priests high above that Ishtar gate, high on top of the ziggurat, way up above the gardens hanging down, but looking up at the stars far above them. That takes us to the end of the story of degrees. Is this the last story? Certainly not. Montessori's short stories will be soon coming your way. Wait for the next one. Thank you for watching. This is Geeta Vijaychandran signing off.
Montessori Grandma.